Zarel Voss didn't remember deciding to pull the trigger. There was no clear thought. No warning. No moment where she told herself to do it. Only the sound. A sharp, violent crack that cut through the air and seemed to freeze everything around her. For a second the world went quiet. Then the man in front of her dropped. Not slowly. Not like in movies. He just fell. His body hit the floor with a heavy, final weight. Like something that had already stopped being alive before it even touched the ground. Zarel stood there, the gun still raised in her hand. Her fingers were tight around it. Too tight. Her arms didn't move. Her breath didn't come. She just stared. At him. At the stillness. At what she had just done. Her heart should have been racing. Her chest should have been tight with panic. She should have been shaking in fear. But she wasn't. There was no fear. No scream. No rush of emotion crashing through her. There was only nothing. A quiet, empty space inside her chest where something used to be. Her fingers trembled slightly, but not from terror. It felt like her body was reacting to something her mind hadn't caught up with yet. Like she was watching herself from far away. Like this wasn't real. Like she hadn't just pulled the trigger. The smell of gunpowder hung in the air. Sure. Bitter. It mixed with something else. Something metallic. Blood. Zarel blinked slowly. Once. Twice. Still nothing. No panic. No regret. Just silence inside her. Good. The voice came from behind her. Full. Steady. Controlled. It cut through the silence like it belonged there. Now move. Zarel didn't turn around. She knew that voice. Even without looking. Riven Caliph. He didn't sound rushed. Didn't sound afraid. He sounded like this was expected. Like this was always going to happen. Zarel swallowed, but her throat felt dry. Her feet didn't move. She stared at the man on the ground again. His face was turned slightly to the side now. Unfamiliar. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe she just didn't recognize him anymore. Maybe the moment he hit the ground, he became something else. Something distant. Something that didn't matter. Zarel. Riven's voice again. Still calm. Still steady. But firmer this time. We don't have time. Time. The word felt strange. Like it belonged to another world. Somewhere far from here. Because right now, everything felt slow. Too slow. Zarel's grip on the gun loosened just slightly. Her arm dropped a little, but she didn't let go. The weight of it in her hand felt real. Too real. A reminder that this wasn't a dream. That this moment couldn't be undone. Somewhere in the distance. A sound. Faint at first. Then clearer. Sirens. Zarel's eyes shifted, not fully turning her head. Just enough to listen. There it was again. Closer now. Another sound followed. Footsteps. Fast. Multiple. Echoing faintly but getting louder. People were coming. That should have meant something. That should have triggered fear. Urgency. Anything. But her body still felt heavy. Like it was stuck between moving and freezing. Zarel. This time Riven stepped closer. She could feel it without seeing him. The shift in the air. The presence. Look at me. Slowly, like it took effort, she turned her head. Riven stood a few steps behind her. Dressed in dark clothing. Calm as ever. His eyes went straight to hers. Not to the body. Not to the gun. To her. Focused. Sure. Present. You did what you had to do, he said. Simple. Direct. Like it was already decided. Like there was no room for doubt. Zarel searched his face. Waiting for something. Judgment. Anything that matched what had just happened. But there was none. Only that same steady control. Now we leave, he added. Behind him, the sounds were getting louder. The sirens. The footsteps. Shouting now, faint but clear enough to understand. They were close. Very close. Zarel's chest rose slowly as she finally took a breath. It felt strange. Like her lungs were remembering how to work. Her fingers tightened again around the gun. This time she noticed it. Not the action. The awareness. She was holding it. She had used it. And something inside her had changed. She didn't know what. She didn't know how. But she could feel it. Like a door had closed quietly somewhere deep inside her. Riven stepped closer. Not rushing her. Not grabbing her. Just there. Waiting. Zarel, he said again, softer now. This is the part where you move. Her eyes dropped once more to the body on the floor. Still. Unmoving. Final. A few seconds ago that man had been standing. Breathing. Existing. Now. Nothing. And she had done that. The thought came. Clear. Simple. But it didn't bring panic. It didn't break her. It just settled. Like a fact she couldn't change. Another sound closer now. A door somewhere. Voices. They were almost here. Zarel exhaled slowly. Her shoulders lowered just a little. Then finally, she moved. One step back. Then another. Her legs felt stiff at first, but they followed. Riven watched her closely, then gave a small nod. Good, he said again. Not praise. Not comfort. Just acknowledgement. They turned together, moving away from the body. Away from the moment. Away from what couldn't be undone. The sounds behind them grew louder with every second. But Zarel didn't look back. She couldn't. Not because she was afraid, but because something told her it didn't matter anymore. What was done, and whatever came next was already waiting. As they moved forward, her grip on the gun finally relaxed. Not enough to drop it, just enough to breathe. Her steps became steadier, more certain. Not fast, not rushed, but moving, alive, changing. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a thought surfaced, quiet, clear, unavoidable. 6 days ago, she was standing in front of a mirror, wearing white, still, silent, waiting for something she didn't choose. 6 days ago, she was a bride. Zarel blinked once more, and this time, something shifted behind her eyes. Not softness, not fear, something sharper, something awake. Then, everything cut to black. 6 days earlier, Noctis Vale was not a city built on hope. It was built on quiet power. The kind that didn't show itself in loud ways but lived in shadows, inside closed rooms behind tinted glass, in deals that were never written down but always remembered. From the outside it looked beautiful. Tall glass towers, clean streets, expensive lights that never seemed to go off. But beneath that surface, everything had a price. And everyone knew it. Some people paid with money. Others paid with silence. And a few paid with something far worse. Zarel Voss stood in front of a tall mirror, staring at someone she barely recognized. The dress fit perfectly. Of course it did. Nothing about today had been left to chance. The white fabric wrapped around her like it belonged there. Smooth, soft, carefully designed to make her look like something pure. Something untouched. Something valuable. Zarel let out a quiet breath. Her fingers moved over the lace at her waist, tracing the delicate patterns without really feeling them. It didn't feel like clothing. It felt like a costume. A role she had been placed into. A lie she was expected to live out. Behind her, the room was silent. Too silent. The kind of silence that pressed against your ears and made your thoughts louder than they should be. Zarel's reflection didn't move. Her face was calm. Too calm. No tears. No visible fear. Just stillness. But her eyes told the truth. The door behind her opened slowly. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. She already knew who it was. Orvek Voss stepped inside like a man who wasn't sure he was welcome. Which, in a way, he wasn't. He stood there for a moment, saying nothing. Looking at her. At the dress. At what she had become. You look, he started, then paused. His voice didn't finish the sentence. Zarel met his eyes through the mirror. Say it, she said quietly. Orvek swallowed. Beautiful. Zarel's lips curved slightly. Not a smile. Something sharper. Of course I do, she replied. That's the point. Silence filled the space again. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Orvek stepped forward slowly, like he was approaching something fragile. We didn't have a choice, he said. There it was. Zarel had been waiting for it. The excuse. The justification. The words that were supposed to make everything feel acceptable. She turned this time. Slowly. Facing him fully. You keep saying that, she said. But it doesn't make it true. Orvek's expression tightened. You don't understand how this works. Zarel let out a soft breath. No, she said. I understand perfectly. Her voice didn't rise. Didn't shake. It stayed steady. Controlled. You made a deal, she continued. You lost. And now you're paying. Orvek flinched slightly. That's not. That's exactly what it is. The words landed harder this time. Sure. Clear. Unavoidable. Zarel took a step closer. The dress moved with her, light and silent, like it didn't belong to the weight of the moment. You didn't just lose money, she said. You lost control. Orvek looked away. That alone was enough. Zarel nodded once, almost to herself. And when you ran out of things to give, she added, you gave me. The room felt smaller. Tighter. Like the walls had moved in just enough to trap the truth inside. Orvek's jaw tightened. It wasn't like that. Zarel didn't react immediately. She just looked at him. Studied him. like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. Then, it was exactly like that. Her voice softened, but somehow that made it worse. You didn't protect me, she said. You traded me. Orvek's shoulders dropped slightly. The fight left him just for a moment. You'll be safe, he said again, quieter this time. Zarel shook her head. No, she replied. I'll be owned. The word hung in the air. Heavy. Final. There was no argument left after that, because both of them knew it was true. Outside, the city moved like nothing was wrong. Cars passed. Lights flickered. People lived their lives without knowing, or caring, what was happening inside this room. That was Noctis Vale. Everything important happened where no one could see it. Orvek finally spoke again, his voice lower now. You don't know who you're dealing with. Zarel's eyes didn't leave his. I do, she said. And she did. Everyone did. You couldn't live in Noctis Vale and not know the name. Midnight Venom. It wasn't just a syndicate. It was something larger. Something deeper. A network that stretched through the city like veins, quiet, invisible but essential to everything that moved. They controlled things people didn't talk about. Routes, deals, information. And when something needed to disappear, it disappeared. No noise. No trace. Just gone. Zarel had heard the stories. Everyone had. Whispers passed between people who thought no one was listening. Names that were spoken carefully. Choices that were made out of fear, not loyalty. And at the center of it, power. The kind that didn't need to prove itself. The kind that simply existed. And now, she was part of it. Not by choice, but by design. Orvek rubbed a hand over his face, tired. They don't forget, he said. They don't forgive. Zarel tilted her head slightly. And you thought they would forgive you? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. That silence said enough. Zarel stepped back, turning toward the mirror again. The woman staring back at her looked unchanged. Still calm. Still composed. Still wearing white. But something inside her had already shifted. Something quiet. Something final. She adjusted the fabric at her wrist, smoothing it out like it mattered. Like any of this mattered. You should go, she said. Orvek hesitated. For a moment it looked like he might say something else. Apologize. Explain. Try to fix something that couldn't be fixed. But he didn't. Because deep down, he knew there was nothing left to say. He turned and walked toward the door. Slow. Heavy. Like each step cost him something. Before he left he paused. Just for a second. Then, you'll understand someday, he said. Zarel didn't turn. No, she replied. I won't. The door closed behind him. Quietly. The room was silent again. Zarel stood there, alone. The mirror in front of her reflected everything perfectly. The dress. The stillness. The illusion. She looked at herself for a long moment. Then finally, she exhaled. Slow. Controlled. And whatever was left of hesitation inside her faded. A soft knock broke the silence. 3 light taps against the door. Zarel didn't move right away. She already knew what it meant. This was it. The moment everything stopped being something she could delay. Another knock. Gentle. But firm. Then a voice from the other side. It's time. Zarel closed her eyes briefly. Just for a second. Then opened them again. And turned toward the door. The doors opened slowly. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just enough for the sound to carry across the room and pull every eye toward the entrance. Zarel stepped forward. The weight of the dress followed her like it had its own presence. Soft against her skin, but heavy in a way that had nothing to do with fabric. The space beyond the door stretched wide and high. Velmora Basilica. Cold stone walls. Tall pillars. Soft golden light spilling from carefully placed fixtures that made everything look calm, controlled, untouched. It was designed to feel sacred. But nothing about it felt that way. Rows of people filled the seats. Men in dark suits. Women in quiet, expensive elegance. No laughter. No whispers. Just stillness. Watching. Waiting. Zarel's eyes moved slowly across them as she walked. She didn't recognize most of them. But she understood them. These were not ordinary guests. These were people who held power in ways that didn't need to be announced. People who didn't clap when things ended. People who decided when things ended. There was something in their faces. Not joy. Not celebration. Approval. Cold. Measured. Like they were witnessing a transaction being completed. Zarel's steps didn't slow. Didn't rush. She moved forward exactly as expected. Because that was the role. That was the design. And at the end of that path, stood the man who owned the outcome. Usher Kale. He didn't move when she entered. Didn't shift. Didn't react like the others. He stood exactly where he was. Still. Balanced. Like everything around him adjusted to his presence, not the other way around. Zarel saw him clearly now. Black suit. Perfectly fitted. Sharp lines. Clean edges. His shirt was opened slightly at the collar, just enough to reveal the dark ink that ran along the right side of his neck. It wasn't decorative. It wasn't subtle. It was deliberate. A mark that didn't try to hide. A mark that didn't need permission to exist. Zarel's eyes stayed there for a moment, following the lines of it, trying to understand it. But it didn't feel like something meant to be understood. It felt like a warning. She lifted her gaze. His eyes met hers. Dark. Narrow. Still. There was no softness in them. No curiosity. No hesitation. Just focus. Sharp and direct. Like he had already studied her long before this moment. Like there was nothing new for him to see. Zarel felt it immediately. Not fear. Not panic. Something colder. Recognition. He wasn't looking at her like a person. He was looking at her like something that had already been decided. She kept walking. Step steady. Measured. Controlled. Her breathing even. Her posture straight. From the outside nothing looked wrong. Nothing looked forced. But inside, everything was clear. This was not a ceremony. This was not a beginning. This was a conclusion. Something had already been agreed. Already been settled. And she was the final piece of it. Usher didn't move as she got closer. He didn't need to. The distance between them closed on its own. Zarel reached the front. Stopped. The space between them now small enough that she could see every detail. The line of his jaw. Sharp. Defined. Unforgiving. His skin smooth. Clean. No distraction. No softness. His hair fell slightly around his face, dark and controlled in a way that still looked effortless. Nothing about him felt accidental. Everything looked placed. Chosen. Refined. But the most unsettling thing was the stillness. He didn't shift his weight. Didn't adjust his stance. Didn't glance away. He simply looked at her. And held that gaze. Like time itself wasn't something that applied to him. The room behind her faded. The guest. The space. The silence. None of it mattered anymore. There was only this. This moment. This man. This reality. Zarel felt her fingers tighten slightly at her sides. A small movement. Barely visible. But enough to remind her that she was still there. Still present. Still aware. Usher's gaze dropped. Slowly. Deliberately. Not rushed. Not curious. Measured. It moved from her eyes. To her face. To the dress. Taking in every detail. Not appreciating. Assessing. Like someone reviewing something they had already purchased. Zarel felt something shift inside her. Not fear. Something sharper. Something more defined. Understanding. He leaned slightly closer. Not enough to invade. Just enough to speak without raising his voice. You look exactly how I expected. His voice was low. Smooth. Controlled. It didn't carry emotion. It carried certainty. Zarel didn't respond. She didn't nod. Didn't react. But inside, the words settled. Not as a compliment. Not as approval. As confirmation. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't impressed. He wasn't even interested in who she was. Because to him, she wasn't something unknown. She was something chosen. Something prepared. Something delivered. Zarel held his gaze again. This time longer. Not challenging. Not soft. Just steady. Trying to find something. Anything. A crack. A flaw. A moment of humanity. But there was none. Only control. Only stillness. Only that quiet, overwhelming presence that didn't need to prove itself. Around them, the room remained silent. No movement. No distraction. Every person there understood the weight of this moment. And no one interrupted it. Because no one would. Not here. Not now. Not with him. Zarel's chest rose slowly. Her breath calm. Even. But inside, everything was clear now. This wasn't about marriage. This wasn't about union. This wasn't about two lives coming together. This was about control. Power. Ownership. And the man standing in front of her understood all of that perfectly. Because that was the world he lived in. That was the world he shaped. She became aware of how close they were. Of how quiet everything felt. Of how every second stretched just enough to feel deliberate. There was no rush. No urgency. Because for him, There was no risk. Nothing uncertain. Nothing unpredictable. Everything was already his. That was the truth. And everyone in the room knew it. Zarel's eyes didn't leave his. But her thoughts shifted. Slowly. Carefully. Piece by piece. The dress. The room. The people. Her father. The deal. It all connected. It all led here. And standing in front of her was the final answer. Not a man. Not in the way people like to believe. But something else. Something colder. Something that didn't need permission. Something that took. And expected it to be accepted. Zarel stood still. Perfectly still. Because that was what this moment required. Because that was what had been arranged. Because that was what everyone expected. But inside, there was no confusion anymore. No uncertainty. No illusion left. Only truth. Clear. Sure. Unavoidable. Her fingers relaxed slightly. Her shoulders stayed straight. Her expression unchanged. From the outside, she was exactly what she was supposed to be. Calm. Composed. Ready. But inside, a single thought formed. Not loud. Not emotional. Just clear. Final. This is not a wedding. The silence in Velmora Basilica held. Tight. Controlled. Expected. Every person in the room understood the weight of what was happening. Nothing moved. Nothing shifted. Until the doors opened. Not violently. Not with force. But wrong. The sound didn't match the moment. It cut through the stillness in a way that didn't belong, like something had slipped into place where it wasn't allowed. Every head turned. Not slowly. Not casually. Immediately. The shift was instant. Attention snapped to the entrance. Zarel didn't move. Usher didn't move. But the room changed. You could feel it. The air tightened. The calm surface cracked, not outwardly, not in noise, but in awareness. Something had entered. Something unexpected. A man stepped inside. Alone. No rush. No hesitation. Each step measured. Even. Certain. He didn't look around. Didn't react to the eyes on him. Didn't acknowledge the space he had just disrupted. He walked forward like he already understood what waited ahead. Like this moment had already been decided. Riven Caliph. The name didn't need to be spoken. It moved through the room without sound. Recognized. Understood. Feared by some. Respected by others. And watched by everyone. The reaction came fast. Not loud. Not chaotic. Controlled. Men shifted in their seats. Hands moved subtly beneath jackets. Positions adjusted. Eyes sharpened. Weapons weren't drawn fully, but they were ready. The kind of readiness that didn't need to be shown. Zarel saw it. Even without turning her head. The tension moved like a ripple through the room. Prepared. Measured. Waiting. But Usher Kale didn't react. He didn't turn. Didn't shift his stance. Didn't even blink. He stood exactly as he had before. Still. Unmoved. Untouched by the disruption. Like the interruption didn't deserve his attention. Or didn't require it. Riven kept walking. Closer. Step by step. The distance between him and the altar closing slowly. Every step louder than it should have been. Not because of the sound, but because of the silence around it. Zarel felt it before she saw it. The shift in focus. The weight of attention changing direction. And then, his eyes found hers. Not the room. Not the guards. Not Usher. Her. Only her. Everything else disappeared from his attention like it didn't exist. He stopped a few steps away. Close enough. Clear. Present. Zarel met his gaze. For a second. Nothing moved. Nothing spoke. Nothing broke. You still breathing? His voice was quiet. Full. Simple. It didn't match the moment. It didn't match the tension. But it landed harder than anything else in the room. Zarel didn't answer. Not because she couldn't. Because she didn't know how. The question wasn't about breath. It wasn't about air. It was something else. Something deeper. Something she hadn't named yet. Behind her, the room remained locked in silence. But it wasn't calm anymore. It was waiting. Waiting for something to break. Waiting for something to be decided. Usher finally moved. Not his body. Just his head. Slowly. Deliberately. His gaze shifted toward Riven. And for the first time since the doors opened, his attention changed. The two men looked at each other. No movement. No noise. No reaction from either side. But the space between them tightened. Sure. Defined. Dangerous. You've chosen a very public way to arrive, Usher said. His voice was the same. Full. even controlled. No anger, no surprise, just acknowledgement. Riven didn't react immediately. His eyes stayed on Zarel for a second longer. Then, slowly, he turned his head and met Asher's gaze. Some things don't need privacy, Riven replied. His tone matched. Calm, direct, unmoved. The room felt smaller now, compressed, like the walls had shifted inward without anyone noticing. The people seated behind them didn't move, didn't speak, didn't interrupt, but their attention sharpened, focused, locked. They understood what was happening, even if no one said it. Asher's eyes narrowed just slightly, not in anger, in recognition, like he had expected something. Just not this moment, not this timing. You're out of place, Asher said, still calm, still controlled. Riven's expression didn't change. I disagree, he replied. Pause. Then, I'm exactly where I need to be. The tension didn't rise. It deepened, quietly, dangerously, the kind of tension that didn't explode, but cut. Zarel stood between them, still, silent, but no longer invisible. For the first time since she entered the room, she wasn't just part of the setting. She was the center of it. Riven looked at her again, fully, directly, ignoring everything else, ignoring the men ready to act, ignoring the power standing just steps away. You still breathing? He repeated, softer this time, closer. Zarel's chest rose slowly, her breath steady, her mind clearer than it had been moments ago. Something about the way he asked. It cut through the control, through the silence, through the weight of everything around her. Asher watched, didn't interrupt, didn't react outwardly, but his attention sharpened, focused, measured. He understood what was happening, and more importantly, what it could become. You're wasting time, Asher said. The words were quiet, but final. Riven didn't look at him, didn't acknowledge the statement, because for him, Asher wasn't the focus. Not right now. Zarel felt something shift inside her, small, but real, like a line had been drawn, or maybe, like a line had been seen for the first time. The room held its breath. No one moved, no one spoke, no one interfered, because whatever came next was not theirs to control. Riven took one final step forward, closing the distance, not aggressive, not rushed, just certain. He raised his hand, slowly, open, not forcing, not demanding, offering. His eyes stayed on hers, clear, steady, present. Walk out, he said quietly. Pause, then, or stay owned. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed exactly where they were meant to. And the room waited. The room didn't move. It held. Every breath, every glance, every thought, suspended between two outcomes that no one dared interrupt. Zarel stood at the center of it. Riven's hand extended in front of her. Open. Waiting. Asher just a step away. Still. Watching. She doesn't choose. Asher's voice cut through the silence. Calm. Measured. Certain. It didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like truth. A statement already decided. Zarel didn't look at him immediately. Her eyes stayed on Riven's hand. Close enough to touch. Close enough to change everything. But behind her, Asher's presence pressed in. Not loud. Not aggressive. But absolute. You walk out of here, Asher continued, and every name tied to you becomes a problem that needs to be solved. The words were soft. Controlled. But they landed with weight. Zarel's chest tightened. Not in panic. In clarity. Her mind moved quickly now. Faster than before. Not scattered. Focused. Her father. Her past. Anyone connected to her. Every person she had ever known. Suddenly placed on a scale. Not by chance. By him. Zarel. Orvek's voice broke through. Closer now. Unsteady. He stepped forward just enough to be seen. This isn't the way, he said. Don't do this. Zarel turned her head slightly. Just enough to see him. For a moment, he didn't look like the man who made the deal. He looked like someone afraid. But it didn't change anything. Her eyes moved back to Riven's hand. Still there. Still waiting. Not forcing. Not rushing. Just present. Inside her, everything pulled in different directions. Fear. Not loud. Not overwhelming. But there. Sure. Clear. Real. Not for herself. For what would come after. For what Asher had just made clear. But beneath that, something else. Something deeper. Something she had been ignoring. Her identity. What she was about to become. What she would stop being. What she would lose. And what she would never get back. She looked at Asher, fully this time, meeting his eyes without hesitation. He didn't move, didn't react. His gaze stayed steady, unshaken, unconcerned, because to him, this wasn't a risk, it was control. Then she understood, not slowly, not piece by piece, all at once, clear, sure, unavoidable. If she stayed, she disappeared, not physically, not immediately, but slowly, quietly, completely. Everything that made her, would fade, piece by piece, until there was nothing left but what he allowed. She left. She might lose everything, everyone, safety, stability, her life. But at least, it would still be hers. Zarel exhaled slowly. Her fingers relaxed at her sides. Her shoulders lowered just slightly. The tension didn't disappear. It changed. "She's already mine," Asher said. The words came without force, without anger, just confirmation, like he was reminding the room of something already agreed. Zarel didn't respond, because now, she knew something he didn't. Ownership only worked if it was accepted. Orvek stepped forward again, closer. "Zarel, don't stop." Her voice cut through his, quiet, but final. He froze, not because she was loud, because she wasn't, because there was something in her tone that hadn't been there before. Something steady, something decided. Zarel looked at him one last time. Not angry, not emotional, just clear. "You already chose," she said softly. "This time I will." Silence followed. Heavy, sure, final. She turned back. Riven's hand still there. Unmoved, unshaken, waiting. For a brief moment, everything slowed. The room, the people, the air. The weight of every possible outcome pressed into that single space between her hand and his. Then, she moved. Her fingers reached forward, not rushed, not hesitant, certain. And then, they closed around his hand. Everything broke. The first gunshot cracked through the air like lightning. Loud, violent, immediate. The silence shattered. People moved. Chairs scraped. Voices rose. Panic spread fast, sharp, uncontrolled, unpredictable. More shots followed, echoing through the basilica. Louder, closer. Zarel felt the shift instantly. Riven's grip tightened, not painfully but firmly, grounding, pulling her into motion before her mind could catch up. "Move." His voice was different now, still controlled, but sharper, focused, active. Zarel didn't hesitate, because there was no space left for hesitation. The room exploded into chaos. People ducked. Some ran. Others froze. Guards moved fast, drawing weapons, shouting commands, trying to regain control that had already slipped. Zarel didn't look back. She couldn't, because the moment she chose, everything behind her stopped mattering. Riven pulled her forward, fast, direct, through the side of the altar, away from the center, away from Asher. Gunfire echoed again, closer this time, fragments of sound bouncing off stone walls, sure, disorienting, relentless. Zarel's heart finally caught up, racing now, her breath uneven, her steps faster, not graceful, not controlled, but moving, alive. The dress slowed her, heavy, restricting, a reminder of what she had just left behind, and what she couldn't carry with her anymore. She stumbled slightly. Riven didn't stop, didn't let go. He adjusted his grip, pulled her forward with more force. "Don't think," he said. His voice cut through everything, clear, direct. Another shot, closer, louder. Zarel's mind tried to catch up, tried to process, tried to understand what was happening. But there was no time, no space, no safety. "Move." And this time, she did, without thinking, without questioning, without looking back. Because the moment she took his hand, everything changed, and there was no going back. Behind them, the basilica fell deeper into chaos. Voices, gunfire, movement, all blending into something uncontrollable. But Zarel didn't hear it clearly anymore, didn't focus on it, didn't carry it with her. Because forward was the only direction left. Riven pulled her through the corridor. Fast, certain. Like he already knew the path. Like he had already planned the exit. Zarel followed, step after step, her body moving before her thoughts could catch up. The air shifted. The noise behind them faded, just slightly. And for the first time since the gunshots, there was space, just enough to breathe, just enough to realize she had chosen. And whatever came next was hers. The corridor was narrow, dim, too quiet compared to the chaos they had just left behind. Zarel's footsteps echoed against the stone floor, uneven at first, then faster as her body caught up with the urgency around her. Riven didn't slow down. He moved like he knew exactly where he was going. Every turn sharp, every step certain. His grip on her hand stayed firm, pulling her forward, not giving her space to stop. Behind them, the sound of gunfire faded, but not completely. It lingered, distant now, but still there. A reminder that what they had started wasn't finished. Zarel's breath came faster, her chest rising and falling unevenly, her heart pounding hard enough to feel in her throat. Everything felt too sharp, too loud, too real. Keep moving, Riven said. Not loud, but clear. They turned another corner. The hallway shifted slightly, narrower, less polished, less designed for appearances. This wasn't part of the ceremony. This was something else. Something hidden. Something built for movement, not display. Zarel's dress caught on the edge of a broken panel. The fabric pulled tight, stopping her mid-step. She stumbled. Riven stopped instantly. Turned. His eyes moved quickly over the situation. Then, without hesitation, he reached down and grabbed the lower part of the dress. The sound of tearing fabric cut through the corridor. Sharp, clean, final. Zarel froze for half a second. The white material fell away in uneven pieces around her legs. The weight of it gone. The restriction lifted. Move, Riven said again. This time she didn't hesitate. Her legs moved faster, freer. The dress no longer holding her back, no longer defining her. They reached a metal door at the end of the corridor. Riven pushed it open. Cold air rushed in. Outside. The night hit her instantly. Cool, sure, alive. A black SUV waited just beyond the exit. Engine already running. Lights off. Ready. The driver's door opened as they approached. A man stepped out quickly, already moving toward the back. No questions. No hesitation. He opened the door. Riven guided Zarel inside, then followed immediately after. The door slammed shut. Go. The SUV moved instantly. No delay. No hesitation. Tires gripping the ground as it pulled away from the building. Zarel leaned back against the seat, her body still tense, her breathing uneven, her hands shaking now, more visibly this time. The silence inside the vehicle felt different, contained, pressurized, like everything that had just happened was trying to catch up all at once. Then, she started laughing. It came suddenly, sure, uncontrolled, not because something was funny, because something inside her had broken open. The sound filled the space, then shifted, broke, turned into something else. Her laughter cracked, uneven, slipping into something closer to crying. She covered her mouth, but it didn't stop. The mix of both, laughter and tears, colliding without control. Riven didn't interrupt, didn't tell her to stop, didn't try to calm her down. He just watched, quiet, present. Outside, the city moved quickly past them. Lights blurred, shadows stretched. The road opened ahead, but behind them, something followed. Headlights appeared in the distance, fast, closing in. The driver adjusted immediately. Speed increased. The engine responded with a deeper growl. They're on us, the driver said. Come, focused. Zarel turned slightly, looking through the back window. Dark vehicles, multiple, moving fast, staying close. Her chest tightened again. The moment of release gone, replaced by something sharper, more immediate. A loud impact hit the side of the SUV. A bullet, not breaking the glass, but striking it hard. Zarel flinched. Another shot followed. Then another. The window beside her head took a direct hit. A deep, heavy thud echoed inside the vehicle. White cracks spread across the surface like frozen lines. The glass didn't shatter, but it changed, stressed, weakened. Zarel stared at it, her reflection distorted through the fractures. Bullet-resistant, Riven said. Calm, unshaken. But not forever. Another shot hit. The cracks deepened, spread further. The SUV swerved slightly, then corrected. The driver moved through traffic with precision. Fast, controlled. Zarel's hands gripped the seat now, her breathing uneven again, her thoughts catching up in waves. What just happened? She started, her voice breaking slightly. But the question didn't finish, because there was no simple answer. The chase continued. Sharp turns, sudden shifts, the distance between them and the pursuing vehicles changing constantly. Then, slowly, the lights behind them began to fade, further, less clear. The driver didn't relax, didn't slow, but the pressure shifted, just slightly. Zarel leaned her head back, her eyes closing for a brief second, then opening again. She turned toward Riven, really looking at him this time, not just reacting, not just following. Why did you save me? She asked, her voice quieter now, still unsteady, but clearer. Riven didn't answer immediately. He looked ahead, watching the road, thinking. Then, because no one deserves to be owned. The words were simple, direct, but they didn't explain everything, not fully. Zarel studied him, waiting for more, for something deeper, but it didn't come. The silence between them held, not empty, just unfinished. The SUV slowed slightly as the city began to change. Buildings grew larger, more spaced out, less crowded. The road curved, leading away from everything familiar. Zarel looked out the window again, the cracks still there, a reminder of how close everything still was. Eventually, the SUV turned onto a long private road, dark, quiet, surrounded by tall structures and controlled space. Gates appeared ahead, large, reinforced. They opened before the vehicle even stopped. Inside, lights, movement, structure, control. The SUV rolled forward, slower now, deliberate. Zarel sat up slightly, her body still tense, but her mind clearer, more aware. This place, it wasn't safety, it wasn't freedom. It was something else. The vehicle came to a stop, the engine went quiet. For a moment, no one moved. Then Riven opened the door, stepped out, turned slightly toward her. Zarel hesitated, just for a second. Then followed. Her feet touched the ground. The air here felt different, still, controlled. She looked around, taking it in, understanding it. Riven's voice came from beside her, calm, steady, unchanged. Welcome to your new reality. The place didn't feel like a home. Zarel noticed that immediately, even before she stepped fully inside, even before anyone spoke. Grave Point Estate stood quiet and controlled, its structure clean, sharp, and deliberate. The kind of place built with purpose, not comfort. Nothing about it was soft. Nothing about it invited you in. It simply existed and expected you to accept it. Zarel followed Riven through the entrance, her steps slower now, not from exhaustion, from awareness. Her eyes moved carefully, taking everything in. The floors were polished, the walls bare but precise, lighting placed exactly where it needed to be, no more, no less. Every detail felt intentional. Nothing felt personal. People were already there, waiting, watching. The first was a woman standing near the center of the room, tall, still, her posture straight, her expression unreadable. Dark clothing, practical, no unnecessary detail. Her eyes moved over Zarel quickly, assessing, not curious, not welcoming. Next to her stood a man broader, heavier in build, arms crossed, quiet, but alert. His gaze didn't leave Zarel for long, not hostile, just aware. A third figure stood farther back, leaning slightly against a wall, younger, more relaxed in posture, but his eyes were sharp, watching everything, missing nothing. Zarel felt it immediately. This wasn't a household. This was a system. Each person placed where they needed to be. Each role understood without explanation. Riven didn't introduce them right away. He walked past them, expecting Zarel to follow. And she did. Not because she trusted him, but because there was nowhere else to go. Her footsteps echoed lightly as they moved deeper into the estate. More corridors. More open spaces. More signs of control. Cameras. Subtle. Placed high in corners. Watching. Always watching. Guards. Not many. But enough. Positioned carefully. Not moving. Not speaking. Just present. Zarel's chest tightened slightly. Not in panic. In realization. She stopped walking. Riven noticed immediately. Turned. Waited. "This isn't freedom," she said. Her voice was calm. Clear. Certain. Riven didn't respond right away. He looked at her. Studied her. Then, "No," he said. Zarel held his gaze. Let the silence stretch. Then, "I'm not safe," she said. Pause. Then the truth sharper this time. "I'm contained." The words settled between them. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just accurate. The others in the room didn't interrupt. Didn't react outwardly. But they heard. They understood. Riven didn't deny it. Didn't argue. Because there was nothing to argue. "This place keeps you alive," he said. Zarel's expression didn't change. "That doesn't make it freedom." Riven nodded once. Small. Acknowledging. The silence that followed felt different. Not tense. Not hostile. Just honest. Zarel moved again. Slowly this time. Not following. Exploring. Her eyes continued to take everything in. The exits. The structure. The patterns. She stopped near a large window. Looked out. The world beyond stretched wide. Open. Uncontrolled. But she wasn't part of it. Not from here. Behind her, Riven stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough to speak without raising his voice. "There's something you need to understand," he said. Zarel didn't turn. "Then say it." Riven's gaze stayed on her. Focused. Steady. "You weren't taken randomly," he said. That made her turn. Slowly. Her eyes sharp now. Focused. "What does that mean?" Riven reached into his jacket. Pulled out a small device. Set it on the table nearby. Zarel stepped closer. Looked at it. Not touching. Waiting. "You took a photograph," he said. Her expression didn't change. But something in her eyes shifted. Recognition. Faint. Distant. "A few weeks ago," he continued. "At an event." Zarel's mind moved quickly. Searching. Sorting. Finding. "There were a lot of photos," she said. "One of them mattered," Riven replied. He didn't explain further. Not yet. Zarel looked at him. Longer this time. Trying to understand. Trying to see what he wasn't saying. "And that's why I'm here?" she asked. Riven didn't hesitate. "Yes." The answer came too easily. Too directly. Zarel let out a quiet breath. Not surprised. Just confirming something she had already started to feel. "So I wasn't just rescued," she said. Riven's expression didn't shift. "No." Zarel nodded once. Slow. Controlled. "I was useful." Riven met her gaze. Steady. Honest. "Yes." The word didn't hurt the way it should have. Maybe because she had expected it. Maybe because nothing about this situation had ever felt simple. Zarel turned away again. Back toward the window. The world outside still wide. Still distant. Her reflection stared back at her faintly in the glass. Different now. Not the same woman from before. Not the same version of herself that had stood in white. She folded her arms loosely. Not defensive. Grounded. "I'm not staying in a room while you decide everything," she said. Riven didn't interrupt. "I'm not waiting," she continued. "I'm not hiding." Her voice stayed calm. But firm. Stronger than before. "If I'm part of this, then I'm part of it." Riven studied her. Carefully. Like he was measuring something. Not her strength. Her certainty. "You don't know what you're asking for," he said. Zarel didn't hesitate. "Neither did I before." The words landed. Simple. But heavy. Silence followed. Not empty. Not uncertain. Just shifting. Something had changed. Subtle. But real. Zarel stepped closer. Not aggressive. Not emotional. Just present. "I'm not something you protect," she said. I'm someone who decides. Riven held her gaze. Then, slowly, he nodded. Not agreement. Not fully. But recognition. Zarel turned away again. Back to the window. The world still waiting beyond the glass. She stared at it. Not longing. Not afraid. Just aware. Then, quietly, she spoke. If I'm going to survive this. Pause. Her reflection steady. Clear. I'm not doing it as a victim. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more interesting videos.